Hey everyone, welcome back to the Swiftly Sung Stories podcast. I'm Jen, I am your Swifty English teacher, and today we are tackling track 2 on my track-by-track analysis of the life of a showgirl, and we're going to dive straight into Elizabeth Taylor. In my last 2 episodes, I analyzed Taylor's prologue poem and track 1, The Fate of Ophelia. So go check those out because it lays a lot of the groundwork for the themes and motifs that are running through this album and really helps us understand what Taylor's getting at. Just to quickly let you know, all of this content is available on my website in text format where you can find these annotated lyrics. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can find me wherever you get your podcasts and vice versa. Okay, let's roll straight into Elizabeth Taylor, line by line. Welcome to Swiftly Sung Stories, where we unpack the Taylor Swift universe one era, album, and lyric at a time. Think of it like English class, but it's all Taylor Swift and none of the boring stuff. I'm Jen, your Swifty English teacher, and class is in session, so come on in and meet me in the margins. Now, this is a really interesting track because our narrator switches points of view, and it shifts between Elizabeth Taylor's point of view and the point of view of our Taylor, our narrator. Taylor has referenced Elizabeth Taylor before in Ready for It, where she says, "He can be my jailer, Burton to this Taylor." That track alludes to Elizabeth Taylor's on and off again marriage to fellow actor and celebrity in his own right, Richard Burton. Their marriage was under constant tabloid scrutiny, and their toxic relationship played out in the headlines for years. But in this track, Taylor's taking another angle. She seems to be comparing her life and loves to the world's first mega celebrity, who also shares half her name. And there's less about relationships in here, but it's really more about life in the spotlight and how to juggle a private life when you're in the public eye. So where do these two Taylors' lives parallel? Listing every similarity would take a dissertation, but for the context of just understanding these lyrics, here are what I think are just the most important bits that I found in my research. Elizabeth Taylor began as a child star and entered into a binding contract with a movie studio when she wasn't old enough to know any better. She felt like the studios owned her, and she was promoted for their own pockets. The second, her personal life was used as public fodder, which likely contributed to her many divorces. The public spotlight was just too harsh for her relationships to survive. Elizabeth Taylor collected jewels that to her represented relationships or personal achievements. Her actually priceless jewels held more sentimental value than monetary value for her. Taylor has used a lot of gemstone imagery in the past, but she also referred to her life's work as infinity stones in her infamous Time magazine profile. And one final tidbit, Elizabeth Taylor was also a cat lover, like obsessed with cats, and her nickname was Kitten or Kitty, which will come back around in the title track. There will be a few more to add as we go along. And just one more thing. I found this quote from a Rolling Stone article in 1987, an interview that they did with Elizabeth Taylor at the Plaza Athénée, no less, because I think it really ties these two narrative threads between the two Taylors together. So Elizabeth Taylor said, "You can always avert throwing yourself in front of an oncoming train. There's something that just pulls you away, and it has pulled me away because I'm not dead yet, just at the brink of impact. Sometimes I have been really grazed by that train. The world and the press and people have always enjoyed doing that. That's the nature of things. You create an idea, a star. They're yours. You have created this monster. So what do? It becomes boring unless you tear it down. I've been on that yo-yo trip all my life, except like the times where I almost lose myself. But I didn't lose myself, did I? Something always made me save myself." I find that last quote incredibly apropos, and so it's just something to keep on file in your brain as we go through these lyrics. Okay, starting with verse 1. And just to clarify, I'm mostly going to refer to Elizabeth Taylor as Liz, just to not confuse the two Taylors. I don't know if she was actually nicknamed anything other than Kitten or Kitty, but it's just for clarity's sake and no disrespect is intended. Elizabeth Taylor, she begins in the intro. Do you think it's forever? Right now we are hearing from our showgirl narrator, voiced by Taylor, who is asking the subject a direct question. Obviously, Liz is gone, so it's hypothetical, but she's going to play out this narrative as if Elizabeth Taylor is speaking. But before we get into Liz's point of view, it's Taylor asking her idol or mentor this question, is it forever? We need a little bit more context for this, and here it is. Liz famously starred in prolific ad campaigns for her fragrance line, White Diamonds. In those ads, she whispered the tagline, "Diamonds are forever." If you're an 80s baby like me, you can play those ads in your mind like a drive-in movie. But what this line really meant in the context of Elizabeth Taylor's life was men are disposable, but diamonds are forever. It was essentially using her many failed relationships as fodder to sell perfume. It worked, and it worked really well. I think I saw that perfume in every boomer mom's bathroom growing up. So we're not talking about physical diamonds, just like these ads weren't talking about physical diamonds. But what the diamond metaphor means is going to change as the lyrics go on. We enter the first verse. That view of Portofino was on my mind when you called me at the Plaza Athénée. We had a quick intro where our showgirl was narrating, and now we are inside Elizabeth Taylor's mind, or Taylor Swift's interpretation of her mind. Portofino was significant in Liz's life. She enjoyed 4 of her honeymoons there. And Portofino was also where Richard Burton proposed. Portofino is known for its brightly colored, mostly orange buildings and this bright blue ocean, which of course is the color theme of this album. But this is an interesting bit of trivia. It is just down the beach from the Gulf of Poets. Poet Percy Shelley, Mary Shelley's husband, actually drowned right there when his ship sank. And in his pockets, they found a bunch of Keats poems, hence the Gulf of Poets. But those perfect-looking, brightly colored houses of Portofino are also an illusion. Many of them are just facades where windows and doors and flower boxes are painted on for effect. So that view of Portofino is a loaded line. It's a gorgeous view, but once you look up close, it's not real. It's a facade, like the facade of a showgirl. Now, the Plaza Athénée had 2 locations, Paris and New York, though New York has since closed. Either setting within these lyrics is possible, as Liz was known to frequent both, and it said that she even lived in both for periods of time. But the point is that wherever she is, she's thinking about that view of Portofino, which likely means that she's thinking about better, more romantic, easier times. Why? Because the following line is, oftentimes it doesn't feel so glamorous to be me. This also reflects that view of Portofino, which, when you think about it, is pretty on the outside and could be crumbling on the inside. If there is a thesis statement for this song, this is it. Sometimes it doesn't feel so glamorous to be me. It's the invisible string that truly ties both Taylors together. The harsh spotlight of celebrity. It can blind the wrong people. Only the very strong and the very equipped can stand beside you when the world gets very loud and very bright. But it doesn't feel so glamorous to be me comes right after that view of Portofino. Just like those pretty buildings in Portofino, the life of a mega celebrity is polished on the outside. But once you really look up close, it's all a facade. All the right guys promised they'd stay, she continues. Under bright lights, they withered away, but you bloom. She is both surprised and delighted that this new romance isn't fading away before her eyes. This new love grows under very harsh conditions, and she wasn't expecting it. The spotlight of celebrity is just too much for some people to handle. And for Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton was the one who could handle it because he was a celebrity too. But together, they were both American royalty and incredibly toxic. She closes out the first verse. Portofino was on my mind, and I think you know why. Something happened in Portofino for Liz or for Taylor or for both. We don't really get to know exactly what that is. This could be alluding to something romantic or something tragic or maybe a bit of both. But this is an inside joke that we don't get to understand. And that in and of itself describes this mega celebrity life, doesn't it? You can't say everything you want to say out loud because everything you do is scrutinized. Just like those houses of Portofino, it looks serene on the outside, but on the inside it could be chaos, and no one would ever know. The chorus comes in, if your letters ever said goodbye, and this begins her transition out of Liz's perspective and into her own point of view. It's almost as if both characters are speaking this line. They both hope that this lover will stick around, and she's going to lay this out more clearly in the chorus. I'd cry my eyes violet, Elizabeth Taylor. So now it is definitely our showgirl narrator, Taylor Swift, speaking in the chorus. Elizabeth Taylor was well known for her really unique violet-hued eyes, but violets are also important in Taylor Swift's universe. In the previous track, The Fate of Ophelia, she references Hamlet, and in the play, Ophelia's violets have withered with her father's death. They've wilted from grief. And in the Elizabethan era, purple violets meant that love or heartbreak was on your mind. It's also not the first time that Taylor has mentioned violets. There was My Knuckles Were Bruised Like Violets from the Great War. So I'd cry my eyes violet, as a metaphor, conjures this imagery of drastic change. She'd be so depressed or so despondent that even the color of her eyes would darken like a bruise. Her outlook would change. Everything would change. This love that she hopes will stick around has transformed her for the better. And if it went away, it could transform her for the worst. It's almost another version of this love's left a permanent mark. She goes on, tell me for real, do you think it's forever? She's asking Elizabeth Taylor this question directly, and it's a loaded question. And in my view, it's asking multiple things at once. It could be, is this love forever? Will it really last, or will it fade away like all the rest? It could be, is fame forever, or will I get canceled again? It could be, will I become as infamous as you? And if I do, will it be for my personal life or for my art? Can I have one without the other? It could be, will my diamonds, my achievements live on, or is this all temporary? These are all possibilities. And let me know what you think in the comments, what this question is getting at. Been number one, but I never had two, she continues. And I can't have fun if I can't have, and then there's an M dash. She's no longer speaking to Elizabeth Taylor. She's speaking to her lover, or she's speaking to herself. There's a lot of speculation about this line, but here's how I read it. I've been at the top of the charts, and I've been at the top of my game, but I've never had someone to share it with. She's never had a real partner be there, standing beside her. You know that saying, if you're doing great at work, you're probably failing at home, and vice versa? That's what I think she's getting at. She's conquered the industry, but there's still something missing. She won't reveal what it is until the final line of the chorus. We all know it's probably you, but the omission, this M dash at the end of the line, I can't have fun if I can't have blank, reflects the meaning. The you is absent. Be my NY when Hollywood hates me, she says. Looking for someone to be her haven when the celebrity spotlight starts to burn. There's that duality again. And this time it's in the metaphor of these polar opposite cities. Elizabeth Taylor famously left Hollywood for the jet set lifestyle, but she could never run away from bad press that was mostly about her failed relationships. Didn't matter where she went. But Hollywood Hates Me could also refer to the backlash Taylor received for her recent film rollouts, where she partnered directly with theaters and bypassed these traditional routes. But either way, it means be my refuge when the world gets too loud. You're only as hot as your last hit, baby, she continues, which is a sentiment I'm sure both of these superstars have felt. They know that the industry will chew you up and spit you out, and it seems like none of your past work or achievements matter. Only what you're doing or not doing in the current moment matters in our culture. Life is long, but the public's memories are short and fickle. They'll often remember the scandals and forget your successes. It's only been proven by the controversies surrounding this very rollout of a showgirl, where the chatter has been incredibly loud and incredibly mercurial. She closes out the chorus with, "Been number one, but I never have two, and I can't have fun till I can't have you." This time, she includes the you. She tells us directly, "I want this person. Life would be no fun without them." It is a sentiment likely shared by Liz, who really wanted a partner she could trust and share her life with. The second verse begins, "Hey, what could you possibly get for the girl who has everything and nothing all at once?" Our narrator is speaking as Elizabeth Taylor once again. On the surface, both Taylors really do have it all: jewels, money, fame, infamy. But if you have all that and no one who's on your level and really understands, it probably feels like a double-edged sword. Instead of letting people in, you have to build this small, secretive world to keep people out, and it probably feels really lonely. Liz had spoken many times about the really deep loneliness that she felt throughout her life, even when it looked to outsiders like she had this big, full, glamorous existence. And Taylor has written about this predicament too, in just songs like The Prophecy, Mirror Ball, I Look in People's Windows, I Hate It Here, many more. The pedestal of fame probably feels pretty isolating at the top. Babe, I would trade the Cartier for someone to trust. Just kidding. She's just being cheeky here. And she's still speaking as Liz. But when she's speaking as Liz in this track, she's also speaking as herself. Now, Elizabeth Taylor would never give away her prized jewels, which she said were more sentimental than material in value for her. The jokes about trading jewels for love and the just kidding is cheeky and cute, but it's really like she's wondering, would I actually give all this up? She's seriously thinking about it. And in the prologue poem she wrote, "It's worth everything it has cost you. And even at your darkest or drunkest, you couldn't say any different, would you?" In this album, she really is pondering all of these different fates. Would she trade it for a real partner? It seems that part of her says yes, absolutely. But then if she never became who she is, then who would Taylor Swift be? She's dealing with a lot of really heavy existential questions, sort of hidden behind the sequins and feathers of this album. She continues, "We hit the best booth at Musso and Frank's. They say I'm bad news. I just say thanks." She's narrating Elizabeth Taylor strutting into this classic Hollywood hotspot, and that place was once frequented by old Hollywood, Rita Hayworth, Greta Garbo, and Marilyn Monroe. But as she imagines Liz going out to dinner, she also imagines the public perception of her, that she's bad news, that her reputation is shot. And both of these superstars were and are really polarizing in public opinion. Both have been painted as these man-eater serial monogamists who already have the next guy lined up in the getaway car before dinner is even over. They've both learned to shake it off because haters gonna hate. And this flippant, I just say thanks, is just that. It's shaking it off. People are going to think whatever they think, and there's nothing you can do to change their minds. But not everyone is a hater, because then she looks at her date. And you look at me like you're hypnotized, and I think you know why. Her lover stares at her in awe. As Elizabeth Taylor, she's hypnotized them with her violet eyes. But is he staring at the movie/pop star, or is he staring at the human woman underneath the facade? There's no way to know. And that applies to both Taylors. This is the duality that most of this album grapples with. Even if it's in its title, The Life of a Showgirl, it's not the life of Taylor Swift. Her public persona and the corporation that bears her name is not the same as the human inside. Is there a partner out there who can love both versions of her? Is there a partner who can tell the difference between the public-facing life, the show, and the real person underneath the costume, the girl? The pre-chorus then repeats, and it changes just the last line. And if your letters ever said goodbye changes to, and if you ever leave me high and dry. And then the chorus repeats, I'd cry my eyes violet. If you ever leave me stranded, she's saying, I'd be devastated. And this can't help but remind us of a similar line. How dare you say it's romantic, leaving me safe and stranded, from Down Bad. The romantic thing to do is to stay. But as the rest of the song grapples with, it's really hard to get anyone to stay. The show gets in the way of the girl, and the show blinds people to the girl. The chorus repeats with a short post-chorus, and then we get into the bridge where we learn more about what this song is really saying. All my white diamonds and lovers are forever, she begins the bridge, in the papers, on the screen, and in their minds. So in this section, it seems like she's again narrating from both points of view. She's again alluding to Liz's iconic "Diamonds are forever" quote from the White Diamonds perfume ads, but the second line adds crucial meaning. They're not forever for her. They're forever for other people. The lover and the gemstones, which could symbolize her art or her achievements, live on forever because they'll always be in the papers, on the screen, and in their minds. So while you're only as hot as your last hit, your mistakes, too, will be forever memorialized on the internet and in the court of public opinion. The people you've dated and the scandals you've endured will always be a part of your story, even long after you've moved on. This is equally true for both Taylors. Both the diamonds and the coal will always be a part of your mythology. There's no shaking it. All my white diamonds and lovers are forever, she repeats. And this is emphasizing that all of her previous lovers will always be associated with her. But then she adds, don't you ever end up anything but mine. What she's getting at here is that she doesn't want to see this new love in some internet archive. She doesn't want to see this person in past tense ever. She wants them in the present as hers, just like her diamonds. She wants this person there forever. The chorus repeats, and the outro echoes the bridge, but it adds one line. Elizabeth Taylor, do you think it's forever? She repeats this question, and it feels like a protege asking their father figure for advice. If there's anyone Taylor could ask really applicable advice for, it would be Elizabeth Taylor. She's one of the very few superstars who have trod this path of extreme fame before. But as Liz is no longer with us, she'll have to settle for imagining her answers. No one can tell us what the future holds. But we can see that as happy and as optimistic as this album is, there are tinges of worry, and it's the same as she has always had. Who could ever leave me, darling? But who could stay? That's it for track 2 for Elizabeth Taylor. If you found this insightful or entertaining or just want to keep geeking out about Taylor Swift with me, please click all the buttons and like and subscribe. I'm just starting this podcast and it really, really helps people find me. Stay tuned for my next episode where we are going to dive into Opalite. Thank you so much for being here with me. See you in the next track. That's it for this chapter of Swiftly Sung Stories. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please don't forget to follow, subscribe, or leave a review. It helps other Swifties find their way here. I'm Jen, and I had a marvelous time reading everything with you. See you next time.